Salve discipuli. So today's video is the third lesson in chapter 16 in the Latin for the New Millennium, and the final lesson in this chapter, and it's on the dative of possession. So you might be thinking, okay, wait a minute. I thought genitive shows possession, or when we talk about the personal adjectives like meus, mea, meum, or tuus, tua, tuum, which means, my or your or something like that, which is true. The dative of possession is something that we really don't literally have in English. It is an idiomatic use or an idiomatic construction in Latin. Now, an idiom is something that does not literally translate from one language to another. So we talk about idiomatic expressions, idioms that, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, which is an idiom in English because we don't literally mean that we could eat a horse. And maybe if we translate that into another language, it wouldn't quite have the same impact as what we mean it in English. But we can also have idiomatic constructions, things that we just do because that's the way English works. Well, of course, Latin is the same way. The dative of possession is one of these idiomatic constructions. Okay, so what is the dative of possession? It is used with the verb sum esse fui futurum. So this verb to be, okay? And the dative is used to emphasize the person doing the possessing, okay? It's a very emphatic possession, okay? The verb sometimes idiomatically will translate into English as to have and not to be, even though you're using the verb to be. And then if you translate the verb that way, the dative of possession becomes the subject of the verb have in English. But sometimes you don't have to do that. Sometimes the verb just translates as to be, and you just have to make the dative into a possession, either into an adjective or into the genitive or something like that, okay? So I have two examples, one of each of those here. In the first example, mihi nomen est Rebecca, this is how the Romans said, my name is, okay? This is how they introduced their names. And with this one, it is going to translate, mihi nomen est Rebecca. Literally, for me, the name is Rebecca. But that just does not sound right in English. So this is an idiomatic construction. It's something that doesn't literally translate from Latin into English. So instead, we have to do a translation that sounds right in our language. So to do that, we're simply going to make the mihi, the dative of possession, into an adjective. And instead of saying the name for me is Rebecca, we're going to say my name is Rebecca. Okay? In the second sentence, mihi sunt discipulas multas quae Latinam amam. So literally this sentence would translate, there are for me many students who love Latin. But again, that just does not sound right in English. So instead, we're going to take this verb sunt and we're going to translate it in English as have. And we're going to take our dative of possession, mihi, and make that the subject of this new have verb. That's not literally what it says in Latin, but it's the way that we're going to make it sound right in English, okay? So we're going to translate this, I have many students who love Latin, which sounds so much better in English than there are for me many students who love Latin. That's just a little just not right. Again, you cannot use the dative of possession with any verb other than esse. So in order to have a dative of possession, your verb has to be esse. If you want to use the verb habere, then you have to have an accusative direct object. You no longer have a dative of possession. And I have some examples here of those two different ways to be able to translate a sentence showing possession. So in this first sentence, tibi animus magnus erat, this is going to translate the same way in English as animum magnum habebas. So take a second, push pause, and identify which one of these is using the dative of possession and which one is using a direct object. That's my little hustle music while you guys write that down. Okay, so we have the dative of possession with esse in this first sentence, and then we have habere with a direct object. So both of these sentences are going to translate the exact same way. The first one literally translates, for you, there was a great spirit. There was a great, great spirit. But we wouldn't translate it that way, even though, that's literally what it says. We're going to use one of these idiomatic translations of the dative of possession, and we're going to translate it, you have a great spirit. Now, we could just say that by using the verb have, and or you were having a great spirit. And we do that in the second example. You were having a magnum animum, a great spirit. No longer the dative of possession because we no longer have the verb to be. And then these this second set of sentences, Timora magnum, rex habet, is going to be the same as Timora magnus regi est. Just again, take a second to identify which one of these is using a dative of possession, which one is just using a direct object, because both sentences are going to translate the same way. This first sentence is the direct object with habere, obviously that's the verb we have, and the second one is the dative of possession with the verb est. So this first sentence translates the king has great fear, and the second sentence actually translates the same way into idiomatic English, because literally it translates there is for the king great fear, but that just does not sound right. We would say the king has great fear. Okay. All right, so take good notes. Make sure you write down the translation of these sentences because I'll be making sure that you have those in your notes. And I hope you have a lovely evening. Walete.